the middle of the desert, there is a kingdom ruled by a strong and mysterious leader, Sheik Hakim. And it is in this setting that today's story unfolds. Where Hakim, the Sheik, needs to marry a virgin woman from a noble family to secure his position as leader and for his lineage to continue. But a great passion ends up arising along the way and changes the whole story. And now, they need to find out if their love can overcome all the difficulties. Can true love grow in the desert and bring together two people from such different worlds? Come with me to find out. The sun shone brightly in the desert, making the golden sand seem like an endless sea. There was Kyara Amy, a talented archaeologist, who was called to discover the secrets hidden in the desert sands of that region. She was fascinated and at the same time a little nervous about the vastness of the place. Her team of archaeologists were around an excavation that seemed very promising, and their excited conversations filled the air. Suddenly, in the distance, a group of knights appeared, riding quickly and creating a cloud of dust as they got closer. Leading the group on an imposing horse was Sheik Hakim. His striking presence and deep gaze made everyone stop and pay attention. "Who's that?" asked Kyara, her heart beating fast, turning to one of her colleagues. "That's Sheik Hakim, the leader of this region," replied the colleague, while looking at the Sheik with admiration. "They say he's so wise." Hakim dismounted from his horse with the elegance of a trained warrior and began to walk towards the group, his eyes fixed on Kyara. When he finally spoke, his voice was firm and full of authority. "Welcome to my kingdom," he said, looking directly at Kyara. "I hope your stay here will be productive and safe." Kyara stepped forward, trying not to be intimidated by the Sheik's imposing presence. "Thank you, Your Highness," she replied, her tone firm. "It is a great honor for us to be able to work in a land so full of history." Hakim narrowed his eyes slightly, appraising her carefully. "You're Dr. Kyara, the archaeologist leading this team, right?" "Yes, that's me," replied Kyara, feeling a mixture of pride and a little nervousness. "I've heard that you're one of the best at what you do. I hope you can uncover important secrets for our history." Kyara kept her gaze steady. "I'll do my best, Your Highness. I believe there are many secrets hidden here, waiting to be discovered." Hakim gave a slight, almost imperceptible smile, but Kyara noticed. "I'm sure of it," he replied, as he turned to look at the excavation area. "I hope you find what you came for. If you need anything, feel free to ask." With those words, he signaled to his men and walked away, leaving Kyara with the feeling that this encounter was just the beginning of something much bigger and more complicated than she had ever imagined. Night had already fallen, and Sheik Hakim's palace shone like a jewel under the starry desert sky. Kyara, still thinking about her meeting with the Sheik, walked through the decorated corridors, admiring the grandeur of the place. She was led into a luxurious room where a banquet was being served. The table was full of exotic dishes and tantalizing aromas. Hakim, sitting at the head of the table, was talking to some advisors, but his eyes met Kyara's as soon as she entered. "Hakim, please sit here with us," Hakim invited, pointing to a chair near him. Kyara sat down, feeling a little out of place, but determined to use this chance to learn more about the man and the culture around her. "How was your first day working in our desert?" asked Hakim with interest. "Fascinating and challenging," Kyara replied with a smile. "The landscape is incredible, but also very tough. And the history buried here, it's a privilege to be able to explore it." Hakim nodded, picking up a glass of wine. "The desert is like a metaphor for life here. It can be difficult, but it's full of secrets and beauties that not everyone gets to see." Kyara leaned forward slightly, full of curiosity. "What kind of secrets does the desert hide for someone like you?" Hakim gave her a mysterious smile. "Some secrets are better kept hidden, Dr. Kyara. But others can transform history." The conversation between them continued in an unexpectedly fluid way, moving on to topics of archaeology, politics, and culture. As the night wore on, Kyara realized that she was forming a bond with Sheik Hakim, something that went beyond cultural differences. When they said goodbye and went to their rooms, Kyara couldn't help thinking about the secrets Hakim was hiding and how this journey in the desert could change their lives. Over the next few days, Kyara worked intensively on the excavation, discovering important artifacts about ancient civilizations. One afternoon, while studying a ceramic inscription, she heard footsteps and turned to see Hakim. "Have you found anything interesting?" Kyara showed him the piece and said, "It talks about an alliance ritual between ancient tribes." Hakim looked closely at the pottery. "Alliances have always been essential to our culture, shaping who we are," Hakim said with conviction. Kyara noticed the seriousness in his gaze and commented, "It seems that this is still important today." Hakim agreed, his expression softening. "Yes, that's why the council wants me to marry someone of noble lineage, to strengthen the kingdom." Kyara felt a twinge of disappointment, but disguised it. "Do you agree?" she asked. Hakim sighed and replied, "I understand the need, but the heart doesn't always follow political logic." The silence between them seemed heavy, almost as if words weren't enough to break it. "And what does your heart say, Sheik Hakim?" asked Kyara, her voice soft but full of curiosity. Hakim stepped forward, moving closer, the tension between them almost palpable. "My heart is divided, Kyara. But there's one thing I know for sure: you're unique, unlike anyone I've ever met." Kyara's heart raced, pounding heavily in her chest. Before she could respond, one of Hakim's advisors rushed in, cutting the moment short. "Your Highness, your presence is required immediately." "There is an urgent matter to attend to," said the advisor, his voice hurried. Hakim nodded and gave Kyara one last look before following the advisor. As she watched him walk away, Kyara felt that she was at a turning point. The desert had begun to reveal its secrets, but the greatest mysteries were yet to come. While the team of archaeologists continued to work tirelessly, Kyara couldn't stop thinking about Hakim. Every encounter with him made her even more confused and intrigued about what she really felt. That evening, Kyara was invited to the palace for a formal dinner with the sheik and his advisors. The banquet hall was full of nobles and influential people from the region. Kyara noticed that everyone there was paying attention to Hakim's every move. When he entered, the whole place fell silent, and everyone looked at him with respect. "Good evening, everyone," said the sheik, his strong voice reverberating through the lavishly decorated walls. "We have special guests tonight, and I hope you will all welcome them with our traditional hospitality," said Hakim. Kyara, sitting next to Hakim, felt a little out of place in the midst of so much luxury. As dinner progressed, she noticed suspicious looks and whispers among some of the advisors, which made her wary. "Dr. Kyara, I heard that your team made an important discovery today," one of the advisors commented. Kyara confirmed it, remaining calm. "Yes, we found an artifact detailing a ritual alliance between ancient tribes, which could be crucial to understanding the history of the region." The advisor gave an icy smile. "Interesting. Do you think this discovery could have an impact on the present?" Kyara frowned, sensing a trap in the question. Every historical discovery can teach us something about the present, but it's too early to draw conclusions. Hakim intervened with a firm tone. "Dr. Hakim is here to conduct academic research. Any political implications will be discussed in due course." The advisor remained silent, but Kyara sensed the tension in the air. After dinner, Hakim took her to a quiet courtyard, away from prying eyes. "I noticed that you were uncomfortable during dinner," said Hakim, with concern on his face. "A counselor can be intense at times." Kyara sighed, looking up at the starry sky. It seemed like there was more going on there than just dinner. "Is there something I should know?" Hakim hesitated for a moment, but then spoke sincerely. "Kyara, you confuse me. I'm very interested in you, and I feel that my feelings are reciprocated." Without waiting any longer, he pulled her into his arms. Kyara felt a warmth run through her body and couldn't resist Sheik's touch. He kissed her passionately. Then, with a tone of sadness, he added, "There are conflicts within the council. Some on the council think that taking a foreign wife, even one of noble lineage like you, Kyara, could weaken my position. They prefer a more traditional alliance, Hakim confessed, with a shade of concern in his voice. Kyara met his gaze, sensing the sincerity and vulnerability he rarely showed. The thought of losing the chance to live a great love with that handsome man shook her to the core. She didn't want to imagine another woman in his place. Determined to understand what was really going on in his heart, she asked, "What about you, Hakim? What do you really want?" Hakim took a step towards her, wrapping his arms around her waist and bringing her closer. "I want to follow my heart. And my heart tells me that you are unique, Kyara. But I know the path won't be easy. We will have to face many challenges, both from the outside and from within." Kyara kissed him, feeling the connection and desire growing between them. Then, looking into Hakim's eyes, she said, "I'm ready to face any challenge, if you want me by your side." Hakim smiled, and at that moment, something stronger than politics and traditions began to emerge between them. Over the next few weeks, Kyara and her team made great discoveries at the dig. With each new find, more secrets of the kingdom were revealed. During the day, Hakim visited the site frequently, and his conversations with Kyara became increasingly close and full of meaning. At night, Kyara would secretly go to Hakim's room. Their love for each other grew with each night together, but it was impossible to avoid the comments of the counselors. One evening, as they strolled through the palace garden, Hakim suddenly stopped. "Kyara, I need to tell you something," he said seriously. "What is it, Hakim?" she asked, worried. Hakim took a deep breath and held her hands. "The council is pressuring me to announce my engagement to a princess from a neighboring kingdom. They think it will strengthen our position." Kyara felt her heart squeeze. "And what are you going to do?" she asked, looking deeply into Hakim's eyes. "Kyara, I love you, but I can't avoid this wedding," said Hakim, regret in his voice. Kyara looked at him, tears filling her eyes. "I can't bear the thought of seeing you with another woman, but I don't want to hurt you either, Hakim." With those words, she walked away, crying. Hakim stood in the garden, not knowing what to do. He loved Kyara, but he knew he had to follow the traditions of his people. The next morning, at dawn, the young princess promised to Hakim arrived at the palace to meet him, as tradition demanded. Her name was Layla, and she had been chosen to become the sheik's wife. When she was introduced to Hakim, her sadness was evident. Dressed in black, she kept part of her face hidden. Realizing that something wasn't right, Hakim asked her gently, "Layla, it seems that you, like me, are not happy with this marriage." Layla, with tears in her eyes, replied, "Forgive me, sir, but I'm being forced to get married. I love another man, but my parents insist that I marry you." Hakim, moved by her honesty, said softly, "Don't cry, Layla. I love someone else too." Hakim, determined to avoid a loveless marriage, decided to use tradition to his advantage. He called a great festival where, according to an ancient custom, the bride and groom had to take part in a series of tests to prove that they were destined for each other. During the tests, Layla, driven by her love for another man, failed on purpose. As a result, the marriage was annulled and Hakim was free to follow his heart and choose Kyara. A few days after the ceremony, Hakim felt it was time to tell Kyara the truth. He went to her camp at dusk and when he found her, sat down next to her. With sincerity, he explained everything he had done to free himself from the arranged marriage, from the negotiations with the elders to the festival that secured his freedom. "Kyara," he said, looking into her eyes, "I did all this because you are the only person I want to be with. Now I'm free to love you without any barriers." Overcome with emotion, Kyara held Hakim's hands, feeling that they were finally ready to live the love they had longed for. With the desert as their witness, they prepared to start a new life together, with no more secrets. Hakim, dressed in ceremonial robes, waited for Kyara with a smile that revealed his joy. "Are you ready to start this new life by my side?" he asked, holding her hand. "Yes, I'm ready for anything, as long as it's with you," Kyara replied with a smile. And so, under the starry desert sky, Hakim chose Kyara, not because of her nobility, but because she was the woman he loved, proving that true love can break any tradition. Did you like this story? Don't forget to like it, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our upcoming stories. Let us know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching and see you next time.